All right, guys, I know it's been a long time since we've done a video on here, and I do apologize for that, but however, things happen in life and sometimes you have to take a break. However, today, guys, we are going to be working on a somewhat of a long-term project. I've kind of already started. You probably can see some stuff behind me, and I'll explain that in a second. But what we're going to be working on is this right here. This is my 30-foot gooseneck project for this truck to tow. So anyways, this is going to be a 30-foot gooseneck trailer. As of right now, this is currently a mobile home frame that you can, as you can tell, it's a mobile home frame that I ripped out or ripped everything off the top of it and started with just the frame. So that's where we're at. It does have surface rust on it, but it's not pitted or anything bad. But today's project is going to be doing the tongue part of the trailer. We're going to leave this alone for now. We're going to leave it attached just so I can steadily move it around the yard to mow underneath this and whatnot. However, I want to talk about doing the I-beams, or another thing that I found that you can use for your I-beams on a trailer like this. Now most of these trailers are, I would say, in between 8-inch and 12-inch I-beam on the vertical, the horizontal, and then your sloped piece are usually one of those three sizes. These, however, happen to be 10-inch I-beams, and they actually came again from a mobile home. So long story short, this is exactly what that one was. Had a little cross member there, a tiny piece of angle back there, and then these two main beams, and of course your jack and your hitch. Now I did go ahead and pull the jack out of the other one, and this one is already unbolted, so it just needs to be popped out. But I'm going to show you guys how to turn one of these essentially into that. So let's time lapse you guys on, and you'll see how I do it. Guys, so as you've seen there, ignore the generator in the background, by the way. That's what I'm using to power up my grinder. But as you see, guys, we have got this thing cut. Pretty much it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, there's a cross member right there towards the front. You got to cut that out. There's a little piece of angle iron, cut that off, and then of course your coupler here, mobile home coupler. You could choose to either gouge or torch it and save the whole thing and maybe use it for another project. I'll probably still keep these, but I'm not really too worried about them being in the shape they're in. So now what I'm going to need to do, I've got my 4 I-beams. By the way, guys, these are roughly 8.5 inch or 8 foot and about a 1/2 inch on each one of these I-beams, which is gonna probably do just enough for me, at least, to do what I want to do on that. So I'll show you guys right there. There's a weld on the bottom of them on either side. So like I said, you guys can pick whatever method you choose to do. However, I'm just using a cutoff wheel. But anyhow, if you guys do enjoy this content, please let me know down below. Leave me a comment if you have any questions or you want to know the dimensions of my trailer. There will be more videos coming on this, but I want to try to keep these videos short and you know, just kind of knock it out basically. So if you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. If you enjoy this content, like it, and if you want to stick around, subscribe for me. I'd appreciate it. These are 2 of the beams that I've already cut to size. I had to cut some random stuff kind of like this off of them Some of it I'm just going to leave alone for now, and then I'll come back at a later date and remove those inner bits and whatnot. However, cleaned up the beams and whatnot, they're ready to be tack welded on. But long story short, these I-beams that I have cut are going to make up our verticals for the gooseneck. So these two beams will be on either side, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to push these back out, and I'm going to put them directly in line with my outer frame rails, so that obviously it's just stronger overall, and that way I'll have something to gusset the back end too, and hopefully that'll stiffen up the overall strength of that ordeal. I have yet to cut the actual tongue that was obviously the trailer hitch. I don't know if I said it yet, but these are already pre-cut to 48 inches or 4 feet for my verticals. This is a little bit on the longer side, but I figure it'd be better to make them longer, and then I can trim them down if need be, rather than vice versa. But like I said, let's get you guys set up, and I'm going to quickly just tack these in place. I'm not going to fully weld them in case I want to change how these are put on. Alright guys, so I got the two verts put in. I had my little brother help me hold these or whatever, so that way they're perfectly even. I've already measured everything. Make sure when you put these two verts in, all your measurements are identical as far as measurement from outside to outside. Same thing with the tops, make sure those are the same. And I checked on all four corners essentially, just to make sure that, you know, nothing's twisted, nothing's slanted forward or backward, make sure they're the right height, all that sort of stuff. Anyways, long story short, do your measuring with this stuff. Make sure that these are identical, because obviously you don't want to be pulling your trailer crooked or sideways or whatever. But now that that's done, we got to work on the piece that comes out and down a little bit, which is what this beam over here is for. So to show y'all real quick, a little drawing. So this is kind of the general shape of what we want. I know it's kind of not the best to see, but what I have here is essentially you're going to measure 68 inches or 68.5 from one end to your point, and then same thing. So basically on both of these corners measure out 68 inches or 68.5, sorry. But you're 68.5 on one of the side, it doesn't matter which. One of your sides, you're gonna, essentially that's gonna be your point. Leave this side connected, but then what you're gonna do is you're gonna measure 68.5, would be somewhere like here. You're gonna measure out 2.5 inches, you know, outside of each side of that mark, which will give you a total of 5 inches here. This is gonna be your wedge that you cut out. So you're going to cut this wedge out, and then you're going to essentially fold this piece or bend it, basically that 5 inch. So basically you cut this wedge out, and then this point is going to meet with this point, and then obviously you'll heat this up and it'll bend this way, and then that will be your show you right here. So that'll be your piece that comes over and kind of down. Now, as far as the measurement goes on this, I just did, this is an 8-foot beam, and obviously I don't want to add to it because, well, it's 8 foot and a half inch. So what I did was 68.5 inches from that end to where this is going to be. So 68.5 inches here, and then 2.5 inches that way, 2.5 inches that way, and that'll make up your 5 inch wedge that has to get pulled out. And then fold this piece back, and obviously this is just the remainder of that. So whatever that is, which is let's see, from the top of your point is going to be about 27.5. From your bottom side to the first, or the outside of the wedge, is about 25, and right there about 30.25. So hopefully that gives you the measurements you need to know. And again, you can go back to the video and screenshot what's on my paper to kind of see what I'm going with. But I'm gonna cut that wedge out and see if we can't get this bent, and then I'll show you what it's supposed to look like. All right guys, really quick, I just wanted to show y'all kind of how I did the cut and then what it's supposed to look like after the fact. Now that one I did mess up. I gotta actually trim that back up. This one I just cut out the wedge, ground this back just a little bit, kind of beveled it just a hair, so that I can bend this into shape. But I'm gonna show y'all how to actually bend this using a ratchet strap. All right guys, so really quick, so all you gotta do is hook your strap on the top edge of this side and the opposite corner on this side, and then I just put my ratchet here so that way I can stand a little closer to this, but the ratchet can go on either side. And then, oops, sorry guys, then all you do is you're gonna crank, sorry this camera is a little loose, you're gonna crank your ratchet until this comes completely together, and then obviously the biggest key here is make sure they're both identical. So since this is my better cut, I'm probably gonna set this one where I want it, then we'll go back through and I'll chop that one back out and put that where we need. But all you need to do is tighten this strap, just like that guys, and as you can see, it has come together for the most part where we want it. You may need to do some trimming, which in this scenario, we're actually really good down here. We just need to trim a little bit off of this so that these two edges will meet a little bit better. And I'm also gonna check the angle on this. But if you cut the wedge out right, your angle should be about right. I went ahead and tacked, I set both these on top of each other. My better one is on the bottom, and then I set the one that I thought needed trimmed on the top. I put a little tack, ignore that first tack, the wind blew right as I did it, but I put a tack down here just so that way I had a pivot point. So I just matched up this edge and that edge together, put a tack right here on the bottom, and then up here, again, ignore this gap. I didn't want to mess with that just yet because I wanted to make sure these were even, and they are pretty damn even as far as flush goes. Pretty flush. Same thing up here, and that's your biggest thing, is you want to make sure these are pretty damn close to identical. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and tack weld, or not tack weld, sorry, go ahead and weld up these seams, and then I'm going to break that tack loose so that I can actually pull. Right, guys, sorry for using the phone here, but my camera died. So what I'm going to do here, guys, I'm just going to quickly show you and give you an overview of what I got going on with the neck part. As you can see, I did some simple math there quickly just to figure this out. But long story short, both of my ends from point to point are 93.5 inches, or somewhere ballpark. I think it was 93 and 5/8 or somewhere in there. But anyway, I just went with half to make it easy. So 93.5 inches from point to point on either side of this, and obviously it being a triangle essentially, I needed to know what the angle of this point needed to be at. So those are spread at 77.5 inches, which is exactly what that and that are set at. So I spread them out to where they need to be, and a simple way you guys can do this is just tack weld one of the points together right there. Tack that together, and obviously forget about this plate, but tack this right here, and then you can spread your two neck pieces out to where you need them. And then you can see my angle here is just a brace to hold those where I have it, which is again 77.5 on my particular trailer. I still haven't welded that seam right here on this bend, but I did do this one inside and out. So now that that's done, I've added a few just like this, just something to grip onto so we can flip it upside down and whatnot and it not move. So I tack that on, tack this in place. This is again just an extra support, so that is tacked in, and then the angle there is also tacked in. So now what I'm gonna have to do, I've got my two ends marked on the back side if I can get it to focus, I got the 2 ends marked back there and back there of the angle that I'm gonna need to cut, and I'll show y'all real quick how you can get that measurement. So really quick, what I did to get these 2 marks where I need to make these angled cuts, I took an extra piece of angle iron that I had laying around, and essentially you just line up, well obviously I could slide this more this way, but essentially you line up your corner to this, these 2 corners together, same thing on the opposite side, and then you just make your line, and then obviously transfer that line all the way down, so that way basically when you cut this off, it will match up to your vertical pieces perfectly straight with those. Right, guys, here is the tongue all put in place and tacked in. Unfortunately I wasn't able to get everything on film. However, what I've come up with here is I took one of the mobile home tongue jacks, and I simply just welded it or tacked it in place on the inside. And what that allowed me to do was back the truck up right in front of this and have that rest in the bed, and then that gives me up and down leverage. And then as far as these go, take a little scrap piece of plate, like something like this or whatever you got, and tack this right here where it's supposed to, where the bottom of this is supposed to sit. Tack one of these in place on either side. That'll give you a little shelf to set this on. So then once you get this set on those, you can simply tack up the weld, or the top. So weld your tops in on both sides, and then as you lower the jack, it'll close your gap on the bottom, and then tack that in place. And then once those are all tacked in, I would put some decent tacks on them, just obviously because, I mean, once you take the truck away, this whole thing is hanging on its own. Also, before you do this, I would recommend putting a little bead on back sides of these, just to make sure nothing separates, because I can tell you right now, this thing is not light, and I don't own a tractor or a skid or anything of that sort, so everything that I put up is 100% pretty much by hand, or sometimes if it's real heavy, I'll use it come along. But long story short, that is how I got the tongue up. I simply welded a little plate underneath where they were supposed to sit. I set those 2 legs up there, and then that one I rested on the back of the truck, and I used that jack to raise and lower to get everything level and where I needed it. That being said, we still have to add triangular gussets down here to strengthen that joint up. Obviously everything still has to be finish welded, and I'm thinking about doing something back here yet. I think probably some sort of gusset setup as well, but I'm going to save that for a later date, because right now I think it'll be strong enough just to move it around the yard, or I hope anyway. But we're going to add something here probably eventually, but as of right now, I want to wait until I get my upper frame welded onto this, and I'll show y'all that in a later video. But long story short, guys, that is going to be the end of this video. I mostly just wanted to show y'all how to build the tongue, the measurements, and all of that sort of stuff. So anyways, guys, really quick, I'm going to back my Ram up to this, and we're going to see if it fits for this truck as well, because one truck is short bed, the other is long bed. So let's see how it looks on the hopefully y'all are able to hear me over the truck. But this is my new Ram 3500, and this one is a long bed, so I wanted to make sure that the tongue was going to be long enough for this configuration, and it definitely is. The only downside is where I have yet to cut this tongue off, I can't get close enough to it for that to be where technically it needs to be. But if you look from the side, I'm probably only about a foot or so off from the hitch, because it's directly above the axle. But long story short, it is long enough for a long bed, and it looks like we're still going to have a good bit of room as well to swing it either side, and we'll still have some room for our gussets, so that'll be good. But long story short, guys, that's going to conclude this video. So if y'all want to see a part 2, definitely be watching out for that, because I'm going to try my best to have another one out when I get back in town. But I'm going to be going on a work trip for the next week, so hopefully when I get back, I'll be able to get some more steel and such for the other stuff that we're going to be building on. But long story short, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop me a like, that really helps me out. If you want to see more content like this, drop me a subscribe, And yeah guys, if you have any questions or want to know anything else, then you can always leave me a comment and I'll try my best to get back to y'all. But again, thanks for watching, y'all, and y'all have a good day.